start. We are we are live from Nubian Human in the Anacostia Arts Center in historic Anacostia, Southeast Washington, D.C. And this is the Neighborish live cast. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Super Dave, a.k.a. Mr. Incredible. And with me, as always, two of the dopest individuals in... Let me turn myself down. I hear myself peeking.
You're peeking, Dave.
I'm peeking. All right. Two of the dopest individuals on the planet. Our resident feminine energy, personal trainer and fitness guru, Miss Fruit Fit herself, Patrice Jones. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
I turned you up so they can hear you with the mask on.
Thank you so much. I just had a sexy sandwich. I'm feeling
That's where it starts today.
Definitely.
That's how it
And
starts.
DC's native son,
Hey.
the SE3 representative, who is
Hey.
not in the shot right now.
For
So
real?
I'm going to
We
introduce
deep.
you, and then I'm going to get up and fix the shot real quick.
That's
Ladies and
okay.
gentlemen, Jay Son is with us.
Hey.
Son.
I'm going live from my joint, so I don't have to be. Oh, thanks,
Part
Dave.
of, part of the
Thank you,
program.
man.
At least part of the program.
There you go. Now you're
I'm in the
there.
shot. Hey.
What's going on there?
Yes, sir. And we have a great show for you today because our guest today is a dude that I've known for a long time. He's a good friend, a very good friend of mine. And if you've ever watched, well, if you've watched CNN for the last, I was going to say, what,
About
10,
15 years?
10, 15 years,
Yeah.
you might not have seen his face. But if he wasn't there, you wouldn't see any faces because he is
Behind the camera.
behind the camera.
Yes.
CNN cameraman, videographer. What's the official title?
Videographer. I'm a technical.
I knew it was something.
Optical technician.
Optical technician. That's
You
what you
know,
put on the resume.
exactly.
Optical
Yeah,
technician.
optical
Brian
technician.
Burch is with us, so we're so glad to have you in. But it's a whole lot because you do a lot of stuff. And I was
Yeah.
telling Jay the other day, you're the first person that I actually knew that I saw do stand up. And
yeah?
I was like, I could probably do that. And I don't know if you
know
know,
that guy.
I had my stand-up debut a couple of, what was it, like 3 months ago?
Yeah.
Here.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yo.
Jay had an event here, and I did some stand-up, and it went pretty well.
Yo.
And I attribute that to you because you're the first person that I knew that I was like, oh, niggas can really just
Go
do it
there
and be
too.
funny because you was always one of the funniest dudes I know. Pause, but no, I'm just nah, but
Really?
yeah.
I appreciate it, man.
Nah, yeah,
I'ma
but
definitely
comedically,
say-
he's a funny- yeah, he's a funny
I'm
guy,
definitely
yeah.
say it's a long time due for you too, because I mean, you've been joking since day one,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
mean, if somebody was to actually steal your jokes and redo them, like somebody's getting paid off that. 'cause,
Well, thank you. I
know,
appreciate
you be a
that.
great writer, I would say that.
Well, I'm
If-
writing
if-
now. We're gonna talk about all that
We gonna
too.
talk
I'm
about
writing,
that.
but
Let's
yeah,
talk about
we're gonna talk about your journey, how you got into
Oh.
how you got into videography and all the stuff that you do, because it's a very interesting story. But first, there's a lot of things going on in the city, in the country, in the world that we need to talk about, and we're gonna talk about.
Oh,
it
yeah? What's
right
going on,
now.
Dave?
It's a lot going on, man.
So much.
I want to start out for the past couple of weeks. We've been starting out talking about, and I'm gonna keep it with that, talking about the coronavirus because there's new information coming out that I've seen over the last week and even more over the weekend about a projected that second wave that they've been talking about.
Yeah.
How it seems to be really becoming a thing right now, and so even with a lot of places saying that their numbers are going down and starting to move into the second, third, fourth phases are opening up. The virus is still out there. A lot of the other countries, places like China, who started out the reopening process, are now having issues and starting to go back into lockdowns to a certain extent. And the news came out this weekend of the impending second wave and how prominent the danger or the worry is about it, and to the point where it affected the stock market. So it's real. It's out there. Y'all be careful. Keep them masks. See, Brian and Fruit Fit, y'all got mad, and so they keeping us safe, Jay. We on the
I
ends
got a
without.
mask. I just don't have it on right now.
You got a beard. The beard catches everything, so
Nah,
you good.
I'm
No.
fully over here. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
taking
yeah.
all precautions.
I'm gonna go
I'm
put
being a
my
little
shit
loose.
on, man. I
Yeah.
ain't trying to be out.
Yeah, so you gotta,
Because it is real. It's I mean, the corona didn't go nowhere just because the world is busy with a lot of other things.
Right.
So yeah, I'm kind of waiting on news from that too.
Yeah,
Because I mean, it really just hadn't gone nowhere. And some people just really
Feel like it's free. It's over now.
like, yeah,
Everything-
they like it's over now because I decided it was over. Like,
right.
And the crazy thing is, China is they're on the road to test everybody. Like they want
Right,
to test
right.
11 million people, which is, how you get rid of stuff. Because I mean, honestly, we could go for a year with this. It'd be like 6 people that haven't got tested, and spread it all over again.
Right, and that'd
And
be
with
it.
the,
Yeah.
economy just as bad, people just as dying. I mean, it's horrible, but like the only real way to do it is these precautions, and you really
Gotta
gotta
take
take these times. And like, how hard is it to wear a mask? I've seen
Right,
people
right.
that just like fight this stuff tooth and nail.
Yeah,
Like they're
yeah.
not gonna wear a mask. They don't care what it is. I'm just not
They
going to do the program and yada yada.
Man, they fighting they politicians trying to why we got to stay in the house? Because I don't
Yeah.
want you to die, bro. I want you to be alive to vote again. But that's a whole nother thing. But yeah, it's definitely still out there. It's something that we need to definitely take heed to. Like we always say, it's probably conspiracy theories about how it began, about what it actually is, and things like that. Regardless, it definitely is a thing that's out there. So Jay and Patricia down there having a side conversation.
No, I was looking at his mask. I'm like, why you put it on now? Go ahead.
Okay.
He's looking real medical right now. He's trying to do. He's trying to be safe. We don't.
Oh, okay.
Y'all
You do
trying to
have
make
a
it seem
mask.
like I ain't care, man.
Right. Yeah, he's doing what he need to do.
Doing what he need to do.
I'm saying that you coming in a little low. Can you lean it to the mic a little bit when you speak for me,
Absolutely.
so that they can hear you.
That's-
Robust voice.
Robustly.
Let me make sure you. Yeah, you on. So yeah,
I'm on. I'm a
There
leader.
you are. Yeah, I
I'm
can
a
hear you
leader.
now.
That's
Dude.
the
Yeah,
problem.
that's the bet.
Weird.
So I mean, it's a lot of stuff going on. Unfortunately, another name has been added to the ever-growing list of unarmed black men murdered by the police. Rashad Brooks. The tape has been playing they got it on a continuous loop on most news stations.
And this is the one in Atlanta, right?
Yeah, in Atlanta, he was in the Wendy's parking lot, and he
Yeah.
actually was fighting with the police and got a taser
Yeah.
away from one of the police officers. He's running away from him, and they shot him 3 times in the back. And there's a couple of interesting things that I saw about the story itself. There's some dispute as to whether the force was warranted because he had the taser, and as he was running away, he turned to kind of
Yeah.
point, and so they shot at him. But
mean,
I'm sorry, yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
No, I was gonna say that's one of those things where it's like people are looking for the perfect excuse
right, yeah.
to
I
shoot
mean,
you
we've
and
seen
find
it.
any reason for that.
We've seen it happen
Yeah.
a million times with every different case. From
Yeah.
what was it, Michael Brown? They said he smoked weed in school when he was little, and
I mean,
different things. Yeah, it's different stuff
some
they
people
tried to find about him.
every excuse to make sure your life just doesn't mean
Doesn't-
much.
doesn't
and that
mean-
people
exactly.
shouldn't,
Yeah. I did
take
see a post
precautions.
last night actually about the Wendy's because I heard the news story earlier last week after the shooting that they had burned down the Wendy's.
Yeah, it
The
was some white
protesters.
woman that,
Yeah, they said,
got caught.
and originally it was the protesters, the Black Lives Matters protesters had burned down. It was one white woman, who
'Cause she wanted to
burned
do
down the
something-
Wendy's.
And this is what I found.
I
even
think
with
she
the
just didn't get her
protesters that was
fries. Is what happened. No, too soon. But no.
She
But
was-
seriously, she.
Well, it was people that was doing it even when the protests, were really kicking up, had nothing to do with it. They just wanted to, and it was almost a perfect storm. Like all these
Yeah.
people were home, they got nothing to do, they got no money. Somebody says, "Hey, yo, the Prada Gucci store is right on the route. Like, yo, let's bring some stuff and buzzing." Like,
right.
it's almost like just opportunity. People saw that opportunity, and I saw a bunch of videos of cops doing the same thing, setting their own cars on fire, busting up windows. And I mean, it's a small percentage of actual protesters that's actually doing a lot of this violence.
Yeah.
And it's other parts of just these opportunists that figure, yo, why not? Walmart's right there. Some people are ready to burn stuff. Like I want to say there's a positive light that a lot of it wasn't in like the poor black neighborhoods. It wasn't like the MLK thing when they was tearing up 14th and U.
Right.
Like
right,
they got
right.
smarter about it, at least in the next generation.
Yeah.
They went down to the Prada and the Gucci store. Like
Yeah.
I'm not mad at them. They got insurance,
And they not mad. A lot of these stores have put out statements saying, "Yeah, we'll rebuild, but we stand with the Black Lives
we'll
Matter."
rebuild. We got that insurance check. We're covered.
Yeah.
And they were closed anyway. Wasn't like they can make any money.
Right.
So
Right. But,
they came off okay.
Yeah. So, but I mean, it's. I was talking, and I think we had this conversation last week too, about how it would seem like with all this media attention and all this light on police brutality that the police would be like, all right, well, let's chill, let's stop it. But nah, that ain't,
Because you got to
Isn't
remember,
that-
this has happened 6-7 times before. We get riled up, mad, pissed about it. Things will go back to normal.
That's so like, yeah.
And the next week, it's just right back.
Something
at it
else
again.
happened. Yeah.
'Cause the crazy thing is nobody ever takes the precautions to like stop. Like the laws that they're putting in now on defunding the police, and I think people have it like they think defund the police and they think, oh, it's going to be some crazy utopian no laws around kind of thing. No, it's almost like when you defund teachers. Because you got to remember, a lot of these departments got tanks and missiles and all that stuff that comes from government money, but that, like, they may only use it whenever black people protest.
Right.
That's the only time it ever comes around.
Right.
So, I mean, you could take a lot of that money, do like the teachers do, and put that other stuff, like you telling these teachers, you know, okay, make it happen with less. Only time you bringing out tanks and water guns is when black people come out and, you know, have a march.
Right.
That's, I mean, you can save some money.
Yeah, you can. It's ways to...
Put that aside.
Defund.
Not really using it for anything. Whatever.
And see, like, and a lot of the reason that we have these conversations is for different perspectives. Like, I didn't even think about it from that perspective. Like, that's
really
about defund, about the money
there.
that's just sitting around. Because working for the government, I see like the waste, oh my goodness, the unbelievable amount of waste that happens in those.
I mean, make people accountable for it. They make every other government agency go hand in hand and pay their own stuff, and you know.
So
why not?
Yeah, what you got? You guys are uncharacteristically quiet down there. What's any thoughts on defunding the police department?
Did
Did y'all smoke together this morning or something? What's going on?
I was by myself.
Oh, okay.
I was by myself.
I know you was high by yourself, but yeah. Any thoughts, Jay, Patrice?
Any thoughts on
Defunding the police department?
Defunding the police department. Not really.
Really? I thought you'd have more to say about it, as vocal as you are about the police being a negative institution.
I still
But so
I do believe that they affect our community negatively. Yes.
right. So wouldn't taking some of their tools away be helpful?
Well, I don't think that's end goal results. At the end, you know, I guess there's a certain demographic that exists that hold the police in a negative regard.
Okay.
And so with that said, like, there's no real interest in reform or adjustments or anything. It is viewed as an debilitating force in our community in an effort towards like liberation and sovereign, righteous, equal existence. It's, you know, so it's just viewed that way. So yeah, I mean, I'm not, you know, I guess my mind isn't engaged in the tit for tat like adjustments or words or, you know, yeah, you know.
But so don't you think that like taking some of those things are like removing money from their budget to be able to purchase these things and not having because
that won't affect the intent. It won't attack the mindset. It won't affect and attack the force that is engaging you. Like those things, you know, it's like a distraction from what really needs to have. It's, you know, it's like a motherfucker beating your ass, and it's like you trying to talk to his friend. You're like, yo, can tell your man to stop. Tell your man, get your man, you gotta knock the nigga out. Like, brothers. So and that's just an analogy. Like talking to your man is taken away from the time and energy that I could be utilizing towards getting this nigga off my neck.
I feel you, and that's a good analogy. I see it more though as like, so in that same analogy, if this dude is beating your ass with a bat and you take the bat away, that give you more of a balance. See what I'm saying? It's like he said, when they talk about funding the police,
that doesn't change his intent of trying to
beat you, harm you. But it takes away a big, you know what I'm saying, portion of
it. Yeah, but what I'm saying,
maybe without that bat,
interested
you can get
in
out.
that. I'm not interested in the bat. I'm interested in him not whipping my ass.
Well, yeah, but so it makes it harder for him to whip your ass if you don't have the bat, right? Like.
Well, I mean, I think if even if you defund the police, you still got the problem of they do stuff with no immunity.
Right.
Nobody's
yeah.
Gonna touch them, even if they beat your ass with a wiffle bat.
Right.
That they got from, you know, their own basement or something. The fact that they know that they can beat the shit out of you, kill you, and get away with it with no immunity. Like
that's more of my point.
Yeah, okay.
That's the whole thing.
I definitely get that. That makes sense.
But
That's
every battle is layered, so that you do need people fighting on the front of political,
legally and
like legislation and all of those things too. But there has to be some type of spiritual allegiance to like the ancestors of Nat Turner and Marcus Garvey and Toussaint Louverture. There has to be that still has to exist. That can't be a lost sentiment
definitely. I agree.
all
that
the,
makes sense.
all the inhabitants of the United States of America. That
makes
spirit
sense.
still
Definitely.
has to be prevalent in our communities for us to even have a fighting chance.
I agree with that because I'm telling you, listen, I actually agree with the riots. I mean, I know some people, because to me, it seems like that's the only thing that actually has any effect. Because you got to remember when Rodney King happened, they didn't even want to charge those cops until we burned some of the city down.
Yeah.
When Trayvon happened in Ferguson, until the riots happened, they didn't even want to admit it was a crime.
Yeah.
It's like not even being able to recognize justice or even accept it first until we burn some stuff down. Because I mean, I guarantee you, on all those police reports, they lied. Every one of those things were full of lies or contradictions from what video saw.
Right.
So,
until we made them kind of force them to take another look at it and be
Yeah.
like, wait a minute, there's no way that
And
they
knew what they were doing. They
Yeah,
didn't even,
yeah.
charge half the people half the time.
Right.
Only way for that, even with the brother that got was jogging. They didn't even want to charge them people with a crime until we started threatening
until
stuff. So sometimes riots need to happen.
And they still ain't charged Breonna Taylor killers.
Yeah, they need to come out.
They still ain't, even though, and I noticed they put out how they changed changed the legislature to get rid of the no-knock warrants, but
they
the
didn't
dudes
charge
ain't.
the people that killed her though.
Yeah, so
I mean, and that doesn't make much sense either, because they still break laws with no immunity.
Right,
So even if they got rid of the
with
no-knock
immunity,
warrants,
yeah.
they can do a no-knock warrant the next day and then be like, oh, my bad, I know it was against protocol, but
oops,
Slap on the wrist.
ask for forgiveness instead of asking for, or don't ask for permission, ask for forgiveness type
to
thing.
get a
So,
vacation.
real quick, Jay, if you're gonna hold the mic, make sure you keep it somewhere specific, because like you had it far away, so I turned you up, and then you brought it close, and I had to turn you down.
Yeah,
so
it's
I'm just
weird because
housekeeping.
we don't have the long table. We got the shorter table. So
Yeah, so you trying not to be. Yeah, I know you trying not to be in fruitful lap, but it is difficult. It's difficult. But
I think I got a good.
yeah, that's good, right? So if you could try to keep it right there, use your comedy skill. You know, Jay's done comedy also. But I mean, you're an MC too, so you know how to hold the mic.
You gotta talk to the room.
Yeah.
But yeah, so appreciate you. But yeah, man, that's so I wanted to talk a little bit about because you guys are real in tune with the I don't like to say but what's going on in the streets. I don't like to say the political scene, but I've heard a lot of people talk about Muriel Bowser, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't like Muriel Bowser. I've met her twice, and like on a.
Oh, you met her?
Yeah, I've met her twice, and she's always been a charming individual. Now, politically, I have no.
Not keeping up with.
Yeah, I don't have
a
any
confession,
opinion.
Dave.
Huh?
Have a confession.
What's your confession?
Go ahead.
Don't tell anyone.
Except for all the people,
between us.
except for the 6 people, 2 of them can't hear anyway. No.
I have a crush on Mayor Bowser.
You know what? And my girl was like, but she's LGBT.
Oh, for real?
I've heard this, but I don't know if it's true. Nobody's confirmed it. But so my question is, and I mean, I know, and I was going to ask Patrice too, because I've heard a lot of people say a lot of things, but you know, I research stuff. I look stuff up.
You got notes.
So I want to find out. So I was looking up, like they were talking about how she, you know, on one side did the Black Lives Matter thing on the, you got that on?
I guess so.
Yeah, Black Lives
go
Matter
ahead.
way.
Yeah, she did the Black Lives Matter thing, but on the flip side, she
added a bunch of money to the police
police's
department,
budget. But in researching it, there was also, and I remember this from a couple of years back, they were talking about a deficit of police. And as a mayor, one of her jobs is to make sure that the city is safe.
Yeah.
And until we come up with a specific decision or direction with either defunding the police or about whatever they're going to do, the police, that's you know, something that she's in charge of. And so the money that she, so basically what was happening was a whole lot of police officers were retiring, and it wasn't enough people, joining to have. They have a certain number that they have set of police that they need to keep the city safe. Yeah. And so she, put a number, and I know you missed a lot of that. But
I heard you.
Oh, okay. So she did allocate money to send that way, and she, responded to that. She was on a podcast with actually Lil Wayne, which was interesting. I don't know if y'all saw that. Look it up, Lil Wayne. He has a podcast, and he talks about some interesting stuff. But yeah, so I was just saying. So is there anything that y'all specifically know? Because I hear a lot of people saying like that you shouldn't vote for her, that she's not a good mayor. And things like that. Do y'all know anything specific about Muriel Bowser? And I'm just asking because I don't have a political opinion about her, but I want to make an informed decision.
I don't have a political opinion either.
Right. I heard. Well, I know you.
He has a personal opinion.
But is there anything that you've heard of that she's done like in this? Because I know you run in a lot of circles that deal with a lot of that stuff. Is there anything specific that you can be like, oh man, she shouldn't have did that, or she's messing us up, or
man? Let me tell you something, Super Dave.
Thank you.
I have no faith or no expectations of any politician ever.
Right.
So so I expect the system to run the way the system is designed.
Understood.
So, with that being said, I'm interested in Muriel Bowser. It's all started when she started getting buck wild with like the traffic tickets, right?
Okay.
Just going in on our community, specifically putting more cameras in the areas where we're at.
And that's something specific.
Like it was very predatory, right? But as opposed to being angry based off the philosophy I just told you, like I don't really expect politicians to be in tune with the people or
have that understanding.
I'm beyond that line of thinking. But I was like, but damn, maybe like if I could go out on a date with her, I could like I could ease her up, like ease up on niggas, baby. Like come on, girl, like you know what I'm saying?
Charge $500
like damn, like $500 a ticket. Like come on,
baby.
Like you know what I'm saying? Let's go walk through the park. You know what I'm saying? She got access to all of the parks and recs and shit. I'm like, we could chill out. Like I'm just a cool dude to hang with. I'm like, I was just like, damn, well maybe I could like give her some empathy about like our struggle and then the side that she aligned herself with and make it make sense. So not like trying to persuade her, but just like, damn, I just think you need some love and
a foot rub.
Yeah, all like just some effect. You know what I'm saying? Like she jive cute. I'm like hold up. You jive hurting us. You jive hurting our community.
It's always pretty much, man. They cold-blooded, I'm telling you.
And I felt,
you know what I'm saying? It's like,
Jay, I know you got a lot of people on your timeline. Patrice, I know you also do too.
Oh, dang.
Can we get somebody to investigate and let me know, is Muriel Bowser, and I ain't trying to break no huge story, but I've heard from more than a few sources that she may or may not be a member of the LGBT community. I'm not trying to blaspheme nobody.
I don't care if she is, man.
Yeah.
Tell her, like,
so
link us up.
Have any,
the police will be defunded, brother. Like, y'all better have faith in me. Oh, yeah. Oh, Trey, you on it? Trey, you need to put us in the room because I'm trying to save our city. I'm trying to save D.C. Like, I'll be the king of D.C. Like, everybody taxes will be cut. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, it won't even be tickets.
Right.
We won't even have traffic tickets. Like, we just gonna drive better. I'm like, look, baby, we just need to talk to the city. Like, we could drive better. Niggas don't need $500 tickets to prove no point. Like, just relax. Let me just make you some dinner or just relax. Like,
well, we putting the call out to Muriel Bowser right now.
Man,
if you out there listening,
y'all gonna give me a crown and shit. I'm gonna have a crown and a motherfucking parade on the Black Lives Matter street. I'm gonna be like, you're welcome, niggas.
You can tell he's thought about this a lot. He's put
that was me. Who you think?
I did that.
Thanks.
Oh, you know why we ain't got no taxes no more? We'll become the 51st state. That's what she want. I'm like, look, just relax. Let me help you.
Yeah.
Hey,
So.
Hey.
Jay need a seat, Trey.
You talking the wrong mic over here.
Oh, we need a seat.
Why she talking into this stuff?
I told you, you all right this morning.
It's all right. Started early.
You all right this morning. Hey, Jay, go ahead and take that off the table so you won't be confused.
Let me move this. Stop confusing the little brain and shit like, I don't know where I'm supposed to.
The mask is messing things up. It's messing my equilibrium. It's throwing everything off. I don't know where I'm going.
But yeah. Y'all gonna leave Patrice alone this morning, man. But yeah, so oh man, the mask that came on.
Get off me.
All right. Y'all are wild this morning. The Neighborish livecast, ladies and gentlemen.
All right.
Five
Back to Mayor Bowser.
Yeah.
But yeah, but there's so.
Hey, put the word out, y'all.
Let me
I
turn
did
you
hear
down.
about
That's my
because now you-
that's my bad,
Right,
Dave,
right,
because
yeah.
I was real. I had a lot of emphasis.
Now, what's the 20 mile an hour speed limit thing I was hearing about? I did hear about that they wanted to change the speed limit everywhere to 20 miles an hour.
They did it.
Yeah.
They already did
Is
it.
It's
it
changed?
official?
Yeah.
Well, I saw like in some places. I don't know.
I haven't
the
seen
car
it
I have
anywhere
right
yet.
now, I could do 20 miles an hour all the
Right.
time. But if I get like a newer, better car that runs better, yeah, I got a heavy foot.
Hey,
you know?
yo, everybody thinks we're high. Like
Who?
Eddie, my man Damo thinks we high. The Truth thinks we high.
I'm high on Jesus.
Amen.
Yeah, we high
Praise
off
the Lord.
life,
Amen.
man.
You said Eddie on there. Eddie B.
Yeah, Eddie B's on here too.
What up, Eddie?
He's not high.
What up?
I know B. I know you know Eddie B, right?
I know it. That's,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
the dude right there.
Nah, that's what he says. He's like,
That's
Brian's
the
my
man.
dude.
Yeah. Bet. So, outside of the traffic ticket thing, so that's one thing, and I'm gonna look into it. I'm gonna reach it because I really want to know stuff about her because the elections are coming up.
It don't matter, Dave.
Well, I know you feel that
No,
way.
he gonna put in his work. He gonna put in.
Jay
his,
gonna put it- okay,
community
if you-
service
I'm
other
telling
ways.
The only
you,
way I'm
hey,
not going-
the whole city needs to rally behind getting me a date with the mayor.
Okay.
I
we can
mean,
change
you know,
this
look,
city.
social media is
You
a
get
strong venue, man.
Hey, look.
we can make that happen if we,
We gonna
we get
put this
enough
out there.
followers on that.
Where you gonna take her, Jay?
What,
Yeah,
what,
that's you better not say the wolf.
well, no, I can't give all
Can't
the
take it to no
secrets
regular
on a
spots
live.
that she find these people for, and they up here
All
buying.
right, so hold on, Brian. Hold on, Dave and Fruitfit.
That was
The thing is, to be completely honest, I actually honestly think I could have open dialogue with certain topics from a perspective that may not make sense, the way it's presented now.
Oh, okay.
I
So you
just
think you
I'm
give
good-
her a
I'm
different?
I'm good at doing that.
And that's why I really want to see if we can get her on the show.
Funny, but it's like in a kind of like a real way to present like real things to people in a perspective that would try to attempt to make a little bit more sense.
I think you can do it. I believe in you, Jay.
And
I
so
believe-
it seems
we
like
need
a
to try to
joke
get her on the
and
show.
but it's like really honest. Like if we were in a room together, there would be, I think I'm capable of highlighting certain contradictions that could benefit people, whether they know it themselves or not.
Oh, okay.
And it could be like, oh no, that's crazy. It's like, okay, fine, but just the opportunity to do
Then
that.
she'll go home and think about it.
Make that
I
happen.
think what he's saying, and it's the same thing. I think with the police department, Jay will almost be like a translator, like a middleman, like to bring the culture of the city into politics.
It's possible.
Like for the police department, and I don't really like speaking on it because I think a lot of people make a lot of assumptions about the police, and we don't really know what goes on inside of the institution with people that look like us,
Right.
and how some of them are fighting.
Yeah.
Some
From
of
the
them,
inside.
I know people that have gotten fired for going against,
Mhm.
like speaking up for either their white or black counterparts from being, for being bad
Yeah.
officers or making bad arrests.
Yeah.
So we don't know everything that
All over
goes
the
on
country.
inside. The same with politics. Like, so with the police department, so I can even give my own personal experience. In 2015 or so, I was on a fence about fitness because, I needed a little more income, and a recruiter reached out. And I was tracked through, and I was getting on the police department. I took all the tests, passed all of them.
Yeah.
But the medical tests.
What?
Yeah.
That was before she met you, Jay. Slow down. Slow down, Jay.
Just
Ease
found out
up.
she the popo.
I spoke with you the other day. No.
So I needed, so because I wanted, was I gonna come move it in your move?
trying to say. I like how she.
Right, yeah,
kept it real, like,
exactly.
I ain't failing too much.
So
Is what it
anyway,
is.
so I thought
Continue.
I was gonna be in a police department because but a recruitment reached out. They was like, you live heavy.
That's what they do.
So,
They do.
but I went through it and I was like, all right, I'm gonna be on the police department. But
So when
long
did you
story
decide
short,
it wasn't for you?
I didn't. I actually that was how I found out.
She's the police right now. No, I'm just
No,
playing.
I'm
just
not.
playing. I'm just joking.
Well, that's how I found out. They told me I had terminal lung disease when I went.
Oh,
to,
okay.
yeah, but I got rid of that because I didn't claim it. But
That's a
here's
whole nother
here's
story,
What
but go
here's
ahead.
what I'm getting to. When I was sitting in the room, waiting, and all of the people that I tested with, none of them looked like me.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, when I say none, I'm talking about a small percentage, like maybe 5% look like me. Everybody else, when you sat there and had conversations, they were from Idaho,
Yep.
Wyoming, way out west somewhere. And
Yeah.
I went through the process, but as I watch everything that goes on now with the police department and the people that don't look like us, or I'm not even going to say the people that don't look like us, because there are some people that just don't understand the culture of the city and the
Exactly.
culture of urban
people.
areas.
Yeah.
And so they don't know how to relate. So
Yeah,
if you got
yeah.
Bob walking up from Wyoming with his pen and pad, hello sir, how are you?
He's gonna do what
and
he's
then
told to do.
you got Sean from the area that's
You know
on the
Sean?
force.
No, I'm just
and,
like,
he, and he walk up and he like, hey man, what's up? What's going on, man? And then the dude kind of relates to him, so he like, man, he cool. Let me talk to him. But the
Yeah.
other person doesn't know how to relate.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's a disconnect in
Absolutely.
culturally. And so
Yeah.
to Jay's point, being that's why I like Trayon White, what he's doing, because he's like a liaison from
Yeah,
he's on the
yeah.
street, on the pavement,
Yeah.
and he's like a liaison between politics and the culture.
Mm.
So I
Yeah.
think that's what she was speaking.
That's
to,
a
like,
great
he's
way to
doing.
put it, too, Patrice.
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
You're pretty smart.
It's the things you don't know. You learn something new every day.
Yeah, every
Now, I
day's a
remember
school
it was
day.
a program that they did try to get people, like more police to live in the city, that worked in the city, or try to have more black cops.
I'm
in
waiting
black
for
areas,
I'm waiting
and
for
they
the
were trying
patented Jay
It
son.
was.
It clicked, but go ahead, B.
Well, I was just saying, there were little efforts to try to make that happen, where people would connect with the people that they actually working with and supposedly, safety and securing. And it was some years ago. I remember they were just giving benefits and house benefits
Yeah,
and medical
things like that to
benefits
people.
and all that stuff. If you were, a city worker or a central worker and you lived in the city, and they tried to keep black people in black areas, just because, honestly, I feel honestly a little safer raising my son in D.C. because there's so many black cops. Like, let me be 20 minutes in either direction.
Right,
I think I'd be a little more leery.
It's different.
Because
It's different.
because I was born and raised here. And when I went to North Carolina, I went down there for school, and
Where'd you go, B?
Johnson C. Smith.
Okay, good.
In
Good,
Charlotte.
good school.
Yeah. So when I
And another
went,
good school. Good job.
yeah. But when I went down there, I saw totally different policing tactics.
Yeah.
I saw policing mindsets, which is totally different. I went out, I got arrested. I was about to take my final one day, went out to get some paperwork done, and the cop said I had did a California coast through a stop sign. And just because of that, car tossed, me handcuffed in the back seat, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
All the extras and all the stops come to find out, and then get to court later on to find out a whole bunch of stuff was lied on the paperwork. But this was that was just a random, black kid that don't look like he can afford a lawyer.
Right.
Let me go
right.
ahead and throw the book at him. Just from, and I'm like, dude, I'm going to school. I got my final in the morning. Like, I had to sit there in jail that night, get out, and go right to class. And
Wow.
take that final. Luckily, I passed it.
Yeah.
And then
Can I
figure
add
out a way to
something
get on
before
with
you-
life. But it's totally different when you, like you said, the whole culture of them knowing people and
Being from that area, my uncle,
Yeah.
my uncle was, and
Yeah.
real quick, but I know Jay got something to say, but real quick, to what you were saying, Patrice, I would have these, especially when all this stuff really started popping off. My dad was a cop for a
Yeah.
career police officer, and my uncle was a career police officer, and my uncle started in Bladensburg, Maryland, and he was like, one of the main differences today is he was a police officer in Bladensburg, Maryland, and he lived in Bladensburg. He was raised in Bladensburg, Maryland. Everybody around there knew him, and so there was a pride. There was a connection between him and the community, and it gave him a chance to take pause and really say, okay, I know these people. Like, let me go in there and talk to them. Let me handle the situation. Because there was always those people who came from, you know, middle America, from out west, from different places, who saw it as us against them. And that mentality is so prevalent now that it's hard to. And so for you to say that you saw that firsthand and, you know, going in there, I mean, it just adds credence to what he was saying to me. But yeah, Jay, I don't want to hold you too long because you be done forgot. Because I know you smoke. But go ahead.
Patrice had an interjection too.
Oh, you want everybody to get everything out because you finna go in. This is going to be the fist up moment?
No, this is real simple. Like,
okay.
I hear all that pretty shit you're saying, right? but at the end of the day, the concept of the police department, and it's been well documented with historical evidence, that the intention is to bring officers from middle America, not from the communities that the officers will be patrolling, in a specific purposeful effort to not have a relationship with the community, so that there will not be empathetic responses, reasoning.
And that's
and
a
that
problem.
has been a tactic of how the police department was designed, the structure of it. So I'm not talking about like individual people and
Thinking
you
that.
know, the niggas that just get caught up. Like Patrice's case, it's like she was a perfect recruit, like, you know, because they monitor our lives. They see where we are in our lives. They know certain demographics of people are vulnerable and will make life decisions if you can provide food, clothing, and shelter for them. You can win their soul and their spirit and their labor for 30, 40 years of their life, because of the predicament that was predisposed and predestined for a certain demographic of people anyway, which is why they send recruiters to certain high schools, to certain recreation centers, to harp on certain demographics of people, military and police. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah, I hear all that cool shit about the cool people, but nah, the system, the way it's rigged, is what I'm speaking of harnessing all of our energies to it. So these little individual people making little change, like, oh, everybody makes their own change. Like, yeah, that shit goes 100 years, 200 years, 300 years. Like, nah, that shit don't work.
Right.
You got to change the shit.
So now remember, so that's the part that I was going to talk about. Like, we live in a huge system. Like, everything is a subsidiary of one big system. Everything, the police department, politics, is a subsidiary of a big system. So while we can choose to focus on those that, because I have a lot of, you know, police friends and family members, you know, to your point, Dave, your dad. So as far as like what I post to social media and what I say, I try to, you know, stay neutral. I think it's all in how we move and what we do in a community, to your point, Jay. But we have to first understand that we live within a system, and it's not broken. It does exactly what it's designed to do. So if we live with that understanding, we're able to see those people that we know that are, you know, good police officers. You know, they're doing their job, they're in their position, but also recognize that everything is systemic, and we are all dominoes in a long string of dominoes, and we all kind of fall in line. Like,
you got an expected part to play.
So I don't know. It's huge, and that's why, you know, having the conversations are important, to know different people's perspective based off of where they come from and their life experiences, or their cultural background, or their, you know, their position, whether they're police officers or politicians, because I think we would stop bickering back and forth so much if we just realize that we are all part of a systemic a systemic construct. Like, that's, we're living in it.
Yeah, we're living in it. We all trying to break our way out of it.
We'll never break out. We'll never break out of it. We'll never break out of it. And I think that's what Jay was saying.
That's morbid as hell.
I don't believe that. No, don't put that on.
You did.
No, I didn't say we can't break out of it.
No,
I didn't say that.
Wait a minute. Let me explain.
Waiting a minute.
You got your warriors here and there. You got your single warriors.
Because I know. So we can break out of it in our own.
That's subjective
area.
to you.
Pockets.
Don't put that shit on me.
I mean, you know, when you
she talking about the like in the micro,
we gotta
as
live
opposed
in our own. We have to
in our
create
area.
our own life.
in our own
But
environment.
as soon as you go outside, like if you drove your, I know you did, but if you drove your car here and you parked, you're part of the system. Because if you
Yeah.
get a ticket, you're in the
Hey,
system.
look, I
You
feel
gotta
like
go to court.
I feel like Judge
So-
Judy. Don't talk to him. Talking to the mic. I'm just messing with you.
Yeah,
Go
that's all
ahead.
I'm saying. Is like either way, we're going to be in the system. Whether you
Right.
run
Yeah.
a business, you're part of the system. Even if you're an entrepreneur, you're part of the
But
system.
but hold on. If you leave the Neighborish live cast today with anything, it is that we can break the system. We can change the whole paradigm.
No,
we
you said
have
break out.
break out, change it, destroy it, whatever needs to happen for us to live sovereign, righteous, equal, harmonious lives is absolutely possible. I don't ever want to leave an impression that the supposed insurmountable odds that we face are unachievable. That is completely false.
So how do we do that?
Well,
That's
it's multi-layered.
Okay.
But I think one thing that could be a start is that we have to reevaluate our own lives. We have to reevaluate personally, subjectively. Each individual person has to reevaluate their whole lives, what their allegiances are to, what their time, energy, and money goes into. And you know, because we all can fine-tune ourselves in an effort to be, you know, more connected to our surroundings and our environment. Like, I think a lot of, I guess, misused energy goes into what other people are doing, like how people are treating us or how people view
Yeah.
us. But I think if we only focused on us, our schools, our families, our children, our, you know, our everything, our entertainment, our fashion, our whatever
Right.
it is that we're into,
Our
if we
business.
just focus on what we like that whole, like these white police killing us, unfortunately, niggas, that's their job. That's what the fuck they supposed to do. The emphasis needs to be when these niggas keep getting murdered on our blocks, where our people, that's where all of our energy should be. I know exactly what a white police officer is supposed to do. I know exactly how the laws were written, who they were written for, how this life is supposed to be executed from a slave master and a slave mentality, which is how these interactions and legislations were designed. So having that understanding, my emphasis is on what do we need to do. I know what their plan is. I know how they execute it. It's on TV every 3 hours of how it was designed for us to be treated, to be fed, to be housed, to be educated, to be treated. So it's like, but there's no emphasis on how we define our existence for ourselves, you know, and that's some of the steps that could be taken to address, you know, that whole, well, what needs to be done, Jay? Like, we need to
Did you
do a
really?
self.
I asked you that.
Dave's asked me that.
I think he was doing my. That was me.
that
That was
was
his.
Dave.
That was his Dave impersonation.
But
But,
you could get some too. But hold up. But
Go ahead.
Eddie
Yeah.
B had a valid point going back to my my future date with the mayor, right?
okay.
He was like, it is very important that the mayor releases the body cam footage from all of the murders that DC police have committed for the past 2 years that she has not released.
Okay.
So, you know, back to your argument, oh, it's just, you know, nope. Like,
Hold on. Wait.
they
What?
in it
What?
too.
What was my argument?
The argument was that, you know, there are, I guess, reformative issues that could take place within the department, and certain things could change, and, you know, without, you know,
Those small changes without changing the big. The
Yeah,
ideas
yeah.
of
Yeah, and
which
I
is
mean,
like-
well, I don't.
ideas
Yeah,
of
and I
whole.
don't think that it's. But that's not what I was saying. I wasn't saying that you shouldn't change the whole, but it has to start somewhere. And
True,
I mean,
okay.
and so yeah, that's all I was
But
saying.
I
So,
didn't
yeah,
want
but-
Eddie
and I'm
B's
glad we
point
fought.
to go on.
Yeah, and that was what I
is.
was trying to get
Yeah.
from that, was find out things specifically that people know of that she did or that she has been a part of that
I think that's why he was
have
trying to make
people
that
like,
point.
yeah, you shouldn't vote. I don't like her. I've heard it more than once from more than a few people, and I was just trying to get some perspective because I don't, you know, just being inquisitive, because like I say, I don't have a political opinion of her. I'm building it as we go along, because honestly, a lot of the stuff that she do, like, I mean, I'm more interested in the Trayon Whites and the people who handle stuff on the more
Trey still on. You get
direct.
big love on this show.
Yeah,
Trey.
yeah, well, definitely, right?
I'm
You know.
just mad you on Patrice live. You ain't on my live. What's going?
Well, hey, look.
When you know,
It's like, join in, man. Come on.
Look,
I guess it don't matter.
if most of the dudes who watch, if they had to choose
I
between
know,
you
yeah.
and
I
Patrice,
would choose her too. Trey.
it's a clear,
Look,
it's a
even
clear,
the
right?
You know what I'm
Even in the mask.
But here's a question though. So when we talk about the body cams, I saw one interview that a gentleman did with a couple whose child was killed, and the footage hasn't been released. They haven't seen the footage. The only video they had was of community people that had videoed the whole incident.
Right.
And when I was watching that, I said to myself, how, like, as a community, or even as the politicians that aren't the mayor, the other politicians, how do we get that reinforced? Because at the end of the day, some of those body cam funding, like, it's like a
State kind of federal is mandated. It should
it's
be.
like
I mean, it's equipment. Like
it's
that's,
like it seems like a pacification. Like,
Okay,
all
like
right,
that.
yeah, you can have
Yeah,
they gonna
yeah,
wear
yeah.
body cams.
But-
yeah,
how
but
do
then
we
they'll
get the
turn them
footage?
off, and they,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that-
yeah.
and that's-
But no, like, what are the
The benefits
of
subsidi-
actually
no, what are
having
they what are the laws underneath the law? Like, how do you manage
Yeah,
the
mandate.
body
Yeah,
cams? Like, how do they get released? What do you have to do to have them released? What's the crime that needs to be committed?
And
for
there
them to
is-
be released?
You're right.
Well,
There
that's
is
the thing, they
procedure
constantly
for it.
break these laws that
Yeah.
they're supposed to be protecting. Like they constantly break the laws that they say, that they're.
No, but what I'm saying is those are a separate set of laws, and see, that's how we get.
Well, even
bamboozled.
just for their own
How-
protocol says that they're supposed to have such and such cameras, and it's supposed to be evidence. It's supposed to be this, and you need to present all this whenever you
Right, but
write,
when?
write up. Right, it's.
That's
I
what
mean,
I'm saying.
technically
Yeah, yeah,
it's
there-
supposed to
and
be
there's
right
laws
when you,
now.
Right when you put in whatever your arrest. It's supposed to be right there whenever you put your paperwork in.
But
for the arrest.
There are
there are
dozens of-
laws, because
But
it's
that
like, because
never
I
happens,
just saw something that they passed, and they're talking about this group of laws that's being passed since the protest, and one of them was like, well, now they're demanding that the body camera footage be displayed. What did they say? Like 17 days after the crime. I'm like, that's still long enough for stuff to be
That's too
changed,
long,
and
yeah.
And so yeah, like what are the, and there is a set of
It's supposed to
stipulations.
happen right when it's because it's
that
happening.
come out.
Man,
Put that stuff in when it happens.
let me tell you a great quote from the great poet John Johnson.
John,
Oh, we know that dude.
JJ.
Laws only work when people follow them.
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
I mean, I
And
said
if
it-
everybody's not if the
You
law
can
is
do all
different
this
for different
hoopla
people.
about the law and change the law and the legislation is like. There have been a lot of laws and legislation stating that we should not be treated the way that we've been treated. That hasn't
Yeah.
stopped anything. It maybe stopped a fraction of stuff that may happen,
And
but
I-
it doesn't change the paradigm. It
Right.
doesn't shift.
I
the
agree. I hear what
consciousness.
Patrice is saying too, though, about
you know.
having an understanding of it gives you more of a tool to, to even begin the
Yeah,
discussion
I
of changing
agree.
the paradigm, right?
But
Like,
again, I just represent a certain energy that I think needs to maintain
he don't
itself.
represent my energy.
oh,
No,
oh.
I don't.
I-
I know
I'm being
this.
serious.
I know.
I'll just say this: there needs to be accountability whenever police department or police interactions. Period.
Yeah, and
If you beating an old man down on the street, and we not even if we get on camera or not, needs to be accountability for stuff like that, for anything.
If you
Because
ask-
you just can't say, "Oh, you represent the law," then you break that law, but it's okay for you to do it, and for us, we screwed. So,
Right.
like you say, like if laws only work if everybody follow. If everybody ain't following it, ain't no sense of having the damn law.
I'm gonna jump out there, and I might get attacked on this table.
You ain't gonna get attacked. I'm gonna make sure you don't
I
get
got a
attacked.
camera over here
I
like a
can't-
DJ.
Why you
So
gotta keep it on?
look, so have y'all
Depend
ever,
on- yeah.
have y'all ever thought about this? Like, really think about this.
Depends on what you say.
Okay.
Because she'd be like, the devil,
So-
worshiping the devil is
No,
what?
I ain't
No,
talking
go ahead.
about
I'm
no
just playing. Go ahead.
devil. Devil is an enemy. So
I
look,
know. I'm just. Oh, that's the. Yeah, go ahead.
Have y'all ever? So if we really think, like, if we close our eyes right now, we think about how things are connected, right? Think about if we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have video capability.
A lot less
If
protest.
think about the history of the police department, think about the media and their job, which is not to inform us, is to align our perception, right? How, when we think about that, so I've been thinking lately that about how how media has, not saying that the killings have not happened, so don't jump on me, but if you guys put your phone away for 2 weeks and didn't watch any news, any news feed on your phone, any social media, any news media, and you walked around in your community, right, and you didn't see the videos and the timing of the videos, right, and the triggers, would your thought processes be any different? Would they be just your experiences with police, your family's experiences, your experiences in your community? Like how would your view be different?
I think it'd be like if you didn't see the stuff on a regular basis,
like we did 20 years ago.
Yeah, like we did in 20. I mean, even 20 years ago, we still got the message from other sources.
Yeah,
I mean, from before NWA, I'm sure Cab Calloway had some songs saying "fuck the police" in like the nicest Christian way.
Howdy,
you know, fuck them cops. But I mean, even you know, when I was a kid, before social media, before a lot of stuff on TV, like my granddaddy would tell me these stories. He'd tell me, you know, how to interact with police, and you know, we got the message socially, whether you know technology was involved or not. So,
but we didn't have the visual triggers.
We didn't have the visual triggers. Like we wouldn't see it
trauma.
on a regular basis.
It depends, though.
But
I think,
still,
yeah,
it depends.
I mean,
Experience.
because you got to remember too.
That's
they were
if you
police-
didn't experience it.
No,
Yeah.
I experienced
But
it many
people
times.
were
me too.
protesting
I've heard
police
that on Facebook.
brutality back in the 60s.
Yeah, and
back
that
in
was
the
before.
50s
Yeah,
and
we
30s
found
and-
out. You know.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like we didn't know.
Right, yeah.
You know, we just weren't. It wasn't thrown in your face all the time. But I don't even know if that's even more helpful or not. Because if you didn't have stuff in your face, you know, it would. I think it would stick with you more. I think now we kind of desensitized. We see it all the time.
Right,
We used to
yeah.
seeing black
Yeah,
people.
I
get
think-
killed
I
on
think
every
that's
time I turn
strategic.
on my phone. Yeah, I think it's strategic to make you be like, you know, I just
That's
want to get
my
through
point.
a day
That's what
without.
I'm getting at. They
yeah,
know they-
just want to get through a day
Right.
without having to feel like I know it's happening, but I just don't want to see it. I don't
So-
want to have it.
So the reason I brought that up,
Mm-hmm.
and today's point is being strategic. So I don't want you to think that I'm speaking against anything that's going on because I'm not.
Uh-oh.
I'm
No,
just
I'm
getting
just
us
playing.
to think. So if you think about like how many, especially black men and black sons and black nephews that are being triggered right now, the levels of mental health and the mental instability that's being triggered with, and then we look at the timing of some of these videos when they are released. People are not paying attention to that. Sometimes when they are released, it's at a great political opportunity versus when it happened.
Oh, you
Like
on
the
you on to
difference-
some shit for
I mean,
So
look,
for
Yeah, she brought it back.
for instance,
they'll
when-
bring up
for-
something that happened a
for
year ago, 2
instance-
years ago.
For
Right, yeah,
instance, when
yeah.
a brother got killed that was running, that was jogging,
Yeah, that was from
that
months
had
ago.
happened months ago.
Yeah, it happened in January.
But
Everything come out
it
to.
was then they put it out, and then right after they put it out, and nobody's paying attention to this either. The ceremonial sacrificial movements that went on when that officer knelt on that gentleman's neck.
Yeah.
The way his hands were positioned, the timing, the numbers, everything. Like we gotta really pay attention. They know more about us than we do.
Yeah.
I mean,
You
the thing
know?
is too,
That's
because
deep.
you
That's
got to
deep.
go on a campaign almost. Because even when Trayvon's folks, and I remember I met Trayvon's parents a year before Ferguson kicked off. When he died, that was at least a year before. When I saw him, they were at least a year in from when he actually died. It took like 2 years. I mean, imagine, you know, you're going through this traumatic thing and you got to go on like a campaign tour just to let people know this injustice has happened. Forget your job, forget your health, forget all that other stuff. You got to go around. I mean, they were on Tom Joyner morning show when Tom Joyner was still on.
Right,
So
right.
they had to go around the country, mostly on their own dime or, you know, whoever's fundraising dime, just to let this stuff know. And
Let people
it
know
happened to
what
be
happened.
The timing of it, when something, it was something politically happening around that time, and when Ferguson actually kicked off, because it was something else. It wasn't just Trayvon. But I mean, you you kind of have to have that momentum. So I mean, it's politics does play a lot with it because especially when you're trying to just bring enlightenment and to something that you know is wrong that people are ignoring.
Or blind to,
anyway,
or strategically blind to, yeah.
Anyway.
Right, because
Yeah,
if you
but-
look at it, now, as far as like the coronavirus, the only reason that and not Jay, go ahead, I feel you. The only reason.
well, let him object before you. See?
It's right on the ear.
Right. That's that women intuition.
So
I know you
why
fit
do-
to say.
So when people think that the coronavirus, so now that the protests are going on, people are like, what happened to Corona? So the only thing that changed is the Corona numbers aren't on your screen every day.
Right. You don't see it
That's
as much.
the only thing. All you gotta do
yeah.
is shift your timeline.
Shift
All
your
you gotta do
focus.
is shift your algorithm.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And the algorithm is
She brought it back.
deeper,
I didn't know where she
right?
was going with it. She brought it back. That was good.
So
That was good.
People
That was
are
good.
like, why? Ain't Corona no more. Then you got everybody all on top of each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and like, oh no, Corona's gone now. Now we can go outside. I was telling
Speaking
one
of
my
that, let me
friends
go get my
the other
mask
day-
right
People
now.
were trying to do that early on, going to the beach, defying,
No,
you know.
what I'm saying is out thinking. Like we don't think.
Yeah, some
like
stuff's not
nobody.
trending.
I don't need anybody to tell me when I can go outside. I don't need nobody to tell me how to move. Like we're like, oh wow, it's the Corona numbers aren't up there. Now we can go. Like
that
little
fear
kids.
factor. That fear
Like,
factor is not in. Like we all
So
punishment.
let me be clear because I think Jay gonna jump on me. I have one good lung.
Why?
So I have
I
to.
think she kind of wants you to jump on her,
You know what
Jay.
I'm saying? I ain't
Well, go ahead.
doing nothing over here.
Not like that. Calm down, Patrice. But go ahead.
I'm just a cheerleader for foolishness at this point.
Yeah.
I want to see it happen.
Go ahead.
Stop putting the camera on me.
I'm masked up.
Make it happen.
Yeah.
Nah, all right, let's see.
But yeah, so to sum up your point, yeah, it's a lot of strategery going on right now. Is that a word? I think I just
It
made
is
that
now.
up.
Ain't you?
It is now.
Strategic. It's a lot, but
like
I mean, I even look at like
Strategery.
you were saying, and I'm not gonna get too deep into this because I want to get into our interview with our guest.
sorry.
But I
What time
even
is it?
looking at it's 12, ain't
Two
it?
minutes.
Yeah. But yeah, I want to get
Because I got a question too. Based
Yeah,
off
we're gonna- but,
Patrice's statement.
But yeah, even the like you said about the
Give it time.
about how they place the things and what it does to people's psyche. I think that a lot of this, the defiance too, is manufactured, like to the point where we're triggered to a point now where any interaction with the police becomes something more than it could have been on both sides now. And now there was a time when,
Usually one-sided.
yeah, it was more one-sided than not. Now there's always there's criminals out there. It's people who do bad things, make bad decisions. But for the most part, you have an interaction with the police. You might be pissed, you might have a feeling, but for the most part, the interaction goes, a certain way. But now there's more of a because we see all of this going on. There's more, and I've seen it a lot in, younger people or people who are more easily triggered. They're more like, I don't have to say nothing to you. Get away from me, cop. And he's like, hey, let me, what's your name or something? And it might even be, and not saying that they're, shouldn't be treated that way, but it's like, there's no rapport. You know what I'm saying? There's no back and forth. It goes straight to a negative situation immediately.
Tensions
And while
are
it
high.
used to, and while there were there are always situations, like I said, where it's not us triggering it. I've seen more. There's more defiance. There's more. The defiance is not the word I'm looking for. There's more
It's just more-
resistance.
yeah.
to
Tensions are high right
yeah,
now.
the tensions
so-
are high, and that's what it is. But I think that's manufactured because it starts to create a narrative that gives the opposition a chance to say, well, look at how they act, and I think that we're feeding into the narrative and the stereotype, and it's because we're being battered by, video, like you said, every 30 minutes, every 3 hours, we getting video of this. What are we supposed to do? How are we supposed to react when that situation comes to us? And it might just be a calm interaction, but we don't, how can you know that? How can you tell? So it's a crazy situation, but I definitely think to a certain extent it's manufactured. I feel it like, I feel like it's something that's out there that's negative. So we have to be smarter in our interactions is all I'm saying. Basically, and kind of see that even though we're being battered by these things, we have to keep
You
that.
still got to make it home safe.
Yeah, exactly. So try
the end
to,
of the day.
I mean, y'all get what I'm saying? That sound crazy? Or
I'm with you.
think-
Fuck the
I
police,
think
but
did
you
a
still got to
good
make it
job,
home
Dave.
safe.
Thank
pretty
you,
good, Dave.
thank you. Because
You
I mean,
gotta-
it's it's something that I've been feeling this for a minute
I
too,
can
and I
cuss
think
you out online.
right, yeah, but and I think Patrice, you kind of hit on the.
I like to say something. And
I'm sorry,
I
you
had
can't.
a-
We don't have time for you.
I
No,
had
go ahead.
I had a conversation yesterday with a gentleman, and
A gentleman.
it was about the police, and how I always wonder how the men in my life feel like right now, because we don't you guys know how I am about roles and stuff like that, and you guys carry so much on your shoulders just day to day, whether it's being a son, an uncle, protector, a father, and to see, because what people don't understand is spiritually and by our blood we are all connected,
You're telling me we don't see
right?
kids.
And so I always wonder how you guys feel about what's going on. It literally makes my soul want to cry, because you see your brothers being slaughtered, and sometimes I wonder if you feel helpless, because I'm that mom. I told my son this, and I probably shouldn't say this, but I'm gonna say it anyway.
Say how you feel. We
I
got your
tell
back.
my son on a daily basis, if anything happens to him, he will have one parent. I'm not going to nobody's court. So he is protected. And I always wonder how men feel as warriors, because you guys are warriors. You're kings. It's in your spirit. It's in your blood. How do you feel? Like,
I mean, we exhausted. I know I am.
Yeah.
I've been seeing this for a long freaking time, living it, survive. Like when Dave Chappelle said, any black man that survived this is my freaking hero. I mean, I'm be honest with you, when I was young, I started looking at older guys that same way, because I figured if you was sane, if you was free, healthy, not locked up, and got a little something about you, like you kind of made it.
Yeah.
In a way, because I mean, it don't matter what social status you on. If you got a little bit of sanity left and you still all right, like I looked up to you, because this stuff is hard. Period. For every level.
Yeah,
Young and old.
that kind of speaks to what Joe was saying when he was on. What Joe Clare was saying about how being black in America at a young age, we are privy to the stress and the stuff that life puts on you, and so
early.
like you said, if you make it to a certain point, I mean, I do feel like as black men, we've had this for a while, and we've been able to kind of, I won't say rationalize, but get somewhat of an understanding of it, to the point where I feel like, for the most part, like, definitely sisters check on us, make sure we good. But I think we're gonna be like, I think it's more important that you have those
hold on,
conversations
Dave.
with
Hold
your
on.
son. Well, let me get the point out, and then I'm gonna let you.
I've
Because I
been
know you
holding
got
my
something to say.
point for like 10 minutes.
Oh, for real? It's not like going to
This
the
is a road
bathroom. You
trip.
can
That's
always but no, I'm just gonna
gotta
say,
let it out.
I think it's important. It's more important that you have those conversations with your son, like you said, because it's that direct interaction with that next generation that's coming up, so they understand that this is something you're gonna have to learn to compartmentalize and deal with. Because that, just like we had to make it, to get to even this point of sitting here with you, I'm 39, I'll be 40 in August, to be alive at this point. You know what I'm saying? It's certain things that we just have to do as black men, have to take and understand. And my thing, and I want to let Jay go, but real quick, my thing would be more, are y'all all right? As black women, we need to put more into instilling and making sure that y'all know, okay, we're going to take it, we're going to be all right. But as women, we got to make sure we hold y'all up and keep y'all good, because I know it's traumatic seeing us, and not only seeing us deal with it, but they coming after y'all too, and that's crazy too, and that's a whole nother thing. But I ain't gonna get too deep. I'm gonna let Jay go, and then I know Patricia has something else to say. But go ahead, Jay.
No, I'm gonna let Jay talk. I'm just gonna say this real quick. I know, just because on my day to day, and I like want to bang the table, I know I'm protected. I don't keep nobody around me that won't protect me.
Right.
I
Right.
don't keep, I don't keep no suckers around me.
Stand.
Right?
Okay.
So I think it's very important that as Black women, we understand that the connection between us and our brothers, like some women only know how to date and sleep with men. They don't know how to maintain
To make
relationships.
that connection.
They don't know how to maintain connections. They just go to bed with them. I got a lot of platonic protection. All right. So I feel that. I appreciate that. And I think especially in these times, I know for a fact, because I know some of my single girlfriends that are sitting in the house when at the top of the quarantine, single, eating, ordering Uber Eats, talking about their lack of dating. I'm like, this is the time where you have conversations with your brothers and get to know them, right?
Build that connection.
Create that level of protection and get and help and have them talk to you about their anxieties or their fears or their disparity or whatever it is. Like that connection. So I appreciate all of you guys. I know I just mentioned you, but I appreciate you too. I appreciate.
I got your back too.
I appreciate
crap.
B just seems cool. I feel like I
I'm
just
telling you, look,
already
I'm
know
not-
this nigga somehow. Like, yeah, welcome back, nigga. I don't know what dimension this is, but it's good to see you again.
But happening around these parts.
Right. But yeah, I so appreciate you saying that. Definitely, and taking the time out to make your sentiments felt.
Yeah.
Jay, what you got?
I appreciate it.
Well, yeah, I just had a question based on, I guess, Patrice's first statement in regards to like how are y'all feeling? So it was from back then, but I was just interested in like I don't know if you have a significant other and I know you jive do.
Yeah,
You don't-
yeah.
Like has
You put me on the spot. No, I'm just playing. It's cool. It's cool.
But not in a real way,
but
because
you know.
it's like she brought about like mental health,
Nah, I'm
and I
like-
always, sometimes to be honest, like I always just yearn, I guess, for like a mate to be able to lean on in spiritual times like this,
Yo.
like just feeling attacked and just
Yeah.
feeling like
Yeah.
like spiritual warfare waged on you, and then seeing the physical warfare waged on you. So not necessarily like in
Yeah, the
like
emotional comfort
sex
zone.
per se,
Yeah,
but like
yeah.
passion and like someone that you are attracted to in a romantic type of way, but have that room to, I guess, expound upon those feelings and those thoughts and like how you feel, like like me
Yeah.
against the world.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah,
I just wish
yeah.
I had somebody to face this shit
Yo,
with.
like-
I ain't even really tripping off.
Bruh,
Yeah,
like,
you know what I'm saying?
and
Like
it's
win or
so-
lose. Like if I could just approach this motherfucker with my folks.
I had them
Some
understand.
spiritual-
Yeah,
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 it's like
yeah,
that's
yeah,
you know what I'm saying. So
yeah.
I was just wondering, like, if that
Yeah,
comes
yeah,
up
definitely.
from
I'm
a
trying to-
man, woman.
Yeah.
Definitely.
You need that because I mean it's to have that emotional comfort zone, just to have
Yeah,
that expression
yeah.
to be able to talk to someone that can feel your pain, or not just having it, but might have more than just input. It's important. That's like necessary because.
But is it? I
It
guess-
is. It so is. Yeah. I'm
All right.
trying
So
to
what
remember.
happens when it? So I guess and we all into your interview time, B. But your
Yeah, it's
family.
cool.
So
We can
once
go
your
as far as
family's
we-
like, "Fuck you, nigga," you all right, nigga.
But no, we can go.
Go ahead now.
we
You're
go as far
already
as
in
we
there,
need
so
to.
don't
Yeah.
Get
Fuck
cups
your
and shit. I
interview,
go in the
nigga.
cupboard and get my
We'll
own
talk about some
silver.
other shit. But it's like so you say like we need it, but it's like
It's
what
necessary.
happens in cases when you don't get it?
Right.
And
No.
you still, to your other point, you still got to push through.
Compartmentalize,
Your light
yeah.
still got to
It's-
shine.
it's
Even though
tougher.
if you have nobody to pour that into or to cry on somebody's shoulder, like you
Yeah.
still got
That's
to. So it's like, do you need it?
Yeah, no. So the term need is an interesting term because I see it kind of like I would talk about how being a single parent. Like I would talk when I would have conversations about being a single parent and how I would never take away from any single parent and say that they can't raise a child on their own. It's something I've seen people do it. I've seen products of it who were extremely successful. I've also seen the other side of it, but that balance is necessary, is needed. And it's like, so if you have the opportunity to set it up where you can do it, that's always the best way because it's like I correlate it to like a one-legged person can run a race and win it, but if you got both legs, why cut one off? And so it's the same kind of thing. Like if you have an opportunity to connect with someone, if you have it, you can. Like if you don't, you can, like keep running. You might win. You don't know, but it's so much easier.
But it hurts
and I was trying to think of what if it was a movie or a TV show or what it was where the guy just went home and grabbed his wife. He's just holding her and screaming and crying. And then after that, he was cool. Yeah, it might have been, but I mean, it was
punching
just,
the air.
yeah, not even just that, but no, because it was more
But I felt that
indicative
nigga
of
in
the
that
connection.
scene. That's why everybody remembers that scene.
Yeah.
People joan on it, but when you first saw it, you felt that shit.
But I don't know if
it.
but I don't know if it was that because it was the scene that I'm talking about was more indicative of the connection and just like you said, that comfort zone and that like someone to pour your soul out to and they understand and they hold you down and you don't have to worry about them using it against you. You don't have to worry about them using it to tear you down. This nigga weak, he crying. You know what I'm saying? It's more like, okay, I got you. It's gonna be all right. Now let's go back out there. Now you saw that. Now get back out there. You gotta fight. You know we need you out there to keep this from happening. You know, so it's all that stuff is so necessary and it's I don't want to get too deep into this, but I also think it's strategic how that's been breaking down. How like everybody's like the you know being by themselves and I can do it myself and it's like you can't. You can't.
No, B.
Yeah, I mean you can, but it's not ideal.
Let's be real.
Let's be real.
This whole, I'ma say it.
She gonna say it.
This whole movement at the helm of the movement is the feminist movement. Ain't nobody talking about it. And it's all about symbolism and writing all over the city. But it's within this movement is feminism, and you can't have a strong black male figure in feminism. It doesn't go together, and that whole breaking down of our family and our men,
the connection,
that construct, it's breaking down because we're paying attention too much to symbolism and bullshit. It's
the first time I heard Patrice cuss since we've been on this show. It's been
we not paying attention.
She didn't even ask to cuss.
I didn't.
She just did it.
No, I hear you though. Yeah,
really
yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
I love y'all, like and
yeah.
We don't, and a lot of, especially I'm gonna say, a lot of women don't see it. They just going along, and I'm like, don't y'all see the symbolism of feminism within this thing that's breaking down our brothers? And so all the women think that I'm gonna be independent. I'm gonna tell you right now, hold up. I don't want to be by myself right now. I want to be protected. I believe in the strength of my brothers. I want to be protected. I want to support you guys in your emotion, the emotional piece, and you guys dealing with this. Just like to what Jay was saying, like, don't you want to have somebody that you can, not in a sexual manner, but in a sensual and spiritual manner,
that
you
sexual
can
manner
go
too, but
to
go ahead, I'm sorry.
and go to and say, hey, this is how I feel about this. Or one day, if you don't even want to talk and you just want to sit there and fucking cry your eyeballs out because you can't out in society, like, we need that. We have relinquished it. We have released it to the feminist movement. That's why our brothers don't have no support.
That's we're going. That's a whole nother show, and we're gonna have that discussion.
I'm hot.
I see.
Keep that fire.
What's on under there before you take it off? It's not. I was about to say because it's not that kind of show, but I wouldn't stop
it's
you.
June and you got on a sweater. I'm just saying.
Howard Stern show in here.
I mean.
But
that type of
trying
show.
to go there, but it is June and she got on this big old sweater.
It's cool in here.
I mean,
she did her cardio today. It's cool.
Well, look, get your workout in.
But
chopping down the tree.
But yeah, man, I definitely want to talk some more because I think there are positive aspects to the feminist movement, but I do understand that there are aspects of it that they're kind of, and I think it gets skewed. I think it gets skewed because I don't know if that's necessarily what it originally was, but people have a tendency to take something and go way left with it. So, and I think that's what happened to the point where it went from empowering and even men taking the time to empower and uplift women to now it's like, I can do it by myself and we don't need no man and kill all the men and all the men need to die. It went far.
Stop, Dave.
It started
Stop.
during the
You don't think so?
Right,
It started during the civil rights movement.
To branch that attention.
It started during the civil rights movement and a no man in the house law, which affected the black family. That is the basis of the feminist movement. They took the woman and put her in the feminist movement. And while they were doing that, the government took the black man out of the household. There is no argument there. That is, it is what it is. And so unless, like all other institutions, police or what have you, unless the construct and the laws and bylaws of it change, it is the same today. It's just cloaked in other movements within.
That's deep.
And there are billionaires putting money behind it.
Yeah, it's the reason you can't get government assistance without taking
the man
to court.
Yeah,
Right.
to get child support.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Like it's supposed to be government assistance, you know.
Yeah,
Not like, oh, okay, well we're going to intrude your home and make sure
Wow, they
you live in
just
how
cut
we
me
want.
off.
Government
They
destabilization.
just cut me off.
Oh, Facebook was
Get
like
it back on.
Instagram.
Instagram.
Yeah.
See, that's
They
why I
don't
want.
like you talking about stuff like that. I'm telling
IG
you.
on somebody. That's all right. You on here, and then we gonna look. I got you recorded,
They just
but
cut
look,
me off, y'all.
but look, we
Get
gonna
back on it.
I mean, and this is a, you know, because I mean, my the extent of my knowledge of the feminist movement is not as, you know, as robust. So,
we can tell, Dave.
well, I mean, I feel like
Dave,
I've,
just
Cut me off.
all right, well, you know.
Hey, well, you know,
But I will. But you know me, I'm gonna look into it. I'm
I
gonna find
know.
out. So
I have
by
some
next
notes
show,
next week, like,
yeah,
all
by
right,
next
Jay,
show we gonna
on
talk
page
about
7.
this. If everyone would turn their books to, no. But I do want to talk to my boy before we get out. I'm like, before we gonna make it as long as we need to. We're gonna
I mean,
go.
you
So
know,
you
I'm
know.
having a ball.
Yeah, I'm glad that you. Thank you so much for coming through. We out of time. No, I'm just
Thanks for coming out. God bless you. Good night.
No, man, it's great to have you here. Like I said, you are one of the first people who I saw do stand up, and you killed. And I have like the favorite joke of mine. You know, I've told you before about the favorite joke that you told of mine. Not the favorite joke of mine. What am I saying? Anyway, shut up. Your favorite joke. That's your best joke. Yeah, it was.
Say the goddamn
I'm
joke.
trying to figure out how to word it. Look, y'all got me flabbergasted. And Patrice went off in Wisconsin. I don't know what's going on.
Remember that?
But no, he told his joke about Marvin Gaye and about his wife and how she was getting the money for the
Yes.
yeah. And it was
And
hilarious.
he was such a gentleman about it because he went through a divorce and had to give his wife
Oh, the album when he had to do the album for?
Yeah.
Ooh,
like
that
had the
album
money
cranks.
and then the whole freaking album's money, and he named it "Here, My Dear."
Right.
That's my favorite
that
Marvin
was-
Gaye album.
Yeah.
Yo, that was the classiest way because I don't think anybody today would have handled that. Like, I don't care if it was
Yeah, with
Kurt
Martin,
Franklin and he had to give up half
But he
his
was
money
like
and a
coked
few
up, wasn't he?
albums.
He's probably
It'd have
real
been
like,
like, pray for this bitch.
Right,
That would have been the name of this album, and it'd have been that. It'd have been a whole lot of slight.
But if
Right,
you
right.
listen to
In the name
it, it
of
was
it.
hard. Like he really loved her though. It was
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
I mean, it was
yeah.
pain.
Yeah.
It was like
You know who tried that and it just failed was Robin Thicke.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was-
Tried to
Robin
get
Thicke
the women
and
back
Lenny,
album.
Robin Thicke and Lenny
Didn't
Kravitz wrote whole albums trying to get their women back.
Like
and
that's
it
the
didn't
whole
work.
point of
Right.
R&B.
Right.
Like that's
Trying to get a woman
that's
back.
the whole point of
You get
R&B
dumped
to
and
get
you
your
make-
woman to get something like that's supposed to happen with R&B.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
just kind of messed that up. But you know,
But yeah,
not
that was-
everybody makes it. You know.
Yeah,
Even
yeah, but
Jordan
that
is
was
a
Marvin
child,
Gaye
so, I
didn't
mean,
get her back, but
He
that-
wasn't trying to get
that
her back.
you know,
He
motherfucking
was trying to
album
get
though. He won with
The
the album.
albums, yeah.
Yeah.
Artistically,
Yeah.
like you win, nigga.
And that's when he started touring like crazy after that. He knew his money. That's the only way he was going
Yeah.
to keep getting his money after that.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
yeah.
but what was the joke?
So yeah, basically
But
that was the
that
joke
was-
that it was very noble of him to make the album and not put "bitch" somewhere in the title.
Oh,
yeah.
And he was like he said, even if it was Kurt Franklin, it would have been Jesus, please help
Pray
this
for
bitch.
this
You know?
Strike it down, Lord. Please.
but yeah, and it was
Seen that.
hilarious. And,
love that album.
that joke killed, and I remember it, and I was like, I'm gonna start writing
right.
jokes today. So thank you I appreciate you for that. But
Yo, that was
so
like even when she said earlier, that was one of the reasons I started doing comedy. It was just so stressful and just like all the pressure of it. I was just like, I need to just have a different vibe. And in some sense, you have to find it for yourself.
Right,
It ain't gonna
right.
be just out there. You just gotta go make it happen.
Yeah.
So I started just going to these comedy. I used to film the comedy clubs over at 12 Lounges on 8th Street.
Okay.
And I used to have the
Upstairs.
comedy upstairs. Eddie Brown
Yeah,
was up there.
yeah. I used to be
I
up
used
there.
to see him come through, and a bunch of comedians come through, man. And it was great just watching the show. I record them and edit little videos for them. And then I was like, man, one of these days I'm gonna have the huevos to get myself up on that mic
Yeah,
and
yeah.
tell some jokes myself. And then I was just coming from work, stressed out as hell. And was just like, yeah, I need to put that energy, that vibe in me.
Yeah.
And I just kind of forced that to make it happen.
Yeah, man, and yeah, have you done? So you don't really
Like,
No more.
you know what?
I know you be busy.
Yeah, because
You're
I've
a
been
big time cameraman and stuff. You know?
Well, look, I've been on like a midnight schedule. I've been working from like 3 to midnight for the last few years.
Oh, okay.
So I hadn't had time. I'd be trying to get off, shoot out of work to an open mic, and everything closed.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
that was kind of like the downside equivalent to me doing stand up.
Right.
Because it wasn't just something I could do in my off time.
Right. Right.
And I ain't had the balls to go out there and be like, okay, I'm gonna just go out there and
Quit
make
the
it.
job and
Quit
yeah.
the job and all that. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
And it was a pretty good job too.
yeah, I mean, no, I've been poor before. I don't like poor.
Right,
I hate it. I worked real hard not to be, working
Poor.
from day to day poor.
Right.
I'm just month to month poor.
Right.
Like,
Right.
it's a whole different level. It's levels to this shit.
Right. Yeah. It's fine.
I
Yeah.
sleep a little better knowing I got at least a month.
Yeah,
You know,
before I gotta
When
start
was younger
worrying.
And I ain't had nothing. It was like, okay, I got a day I can crash on somebody's couch.
Yeah, think about it, but,
Now I'm just like, okay, I got a month.
But yeah, I've always seen that comedic side of you. But so, what took you to videography?
Oh man, I started doing a film project in school, and thinking about careers, I had no idea where I was going with it. But I just had so much fun doing this film project. I was like, if I got to work for the rest of my life, choose something that I actually like. And I didn't really have a major. Communications is like one of those things where you don't know what you really want to do,
Right,
but
right.
you want to do it in a fun way. So they always throw communications as a basic general thing.
Right. Yeah.
But once I found out videography, I was like, oh yeah, forget this, I'm down. And I was so late in the game doing videography, like it was my senior year by the time I even had that film thing. So like by the time I graduated, it was coming around graduating, couldn't do no internships, didn't have experience, didn't have, all that. So I just started going to the clubs. I went to all these artists. I went to all the little hot spots, and I took my handy cam and I filmed everybody. Like I probably got so many performances of artists starting out years ago.
Yeah.
Like in these little spots and these open mics. And these
Yeah,
little
I saw
things.
you in Bar None back before it was
Yeah.
pure. It's pure
Yeah.
now, but back when it was Bar None, I was like, hey, what's up? Yeah.
I'm in Bar None when that was Kaffa House.
Oh yeah,
So, I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
I'm just showing my age now.
Right.
But yeah, I just went around, just did all this film work as much as I could because I just knew I didn't have any experience, and I'm competing with guys that had, experience and internships and blah blah blahs. So I was just like, all right, I'm gonna just be in this business. I'm gonna work it anywhere I could. I mean, I'd be sneaking in clubs, working their video and audio and pulling lines. And I'm just getting experience just so I can say later on my resume, hey, yeah, I worked at this spot and did that. And people ain't know who the hell I was.
Right.
I mean, I'm talking when they say like stealing knowledge, like you had to steal that knowledge and experience. And matter of fact, I was working at what was it? They sold the joint now. That's what's the basement club? There used to be an old
Bohemian
Oh,
Cabin.
Bohemian Cabin.
Cabins.
Yeah.
I was working there with my man DJ, and I was doing
DJ?
DJ the DJ, Chef
Oh, for
DJ.
real? Oh, yeah, that's the
When he
homie.
was working the door down there.
Shout
I
out
first
Chef
met him.
DJ.
Yeah, shout out to Chef DJ.
Yeah.
But I worked with a few cats, man, and they were just doing open mics. So I just started kind of working the door because I had done security and stuff when I was down south. It was one of those things like you big, you black, and people are scared of you
Yeah.
to
I
a
mean,
degree
yeah.
because I ain't had like haircut money. So I had my hair in the Bantu knots and twisting braids and some more.
Yeah,
So yeah, they was like, we gonna put you in the security field. So I was just working security and FedEx for the longest, on and off. But yeah, it was just a constant thing of like, okay, I got a day. Every day I woke up like, all right, I got to make something happen out of this because it was funny. I used to work. I worked a bunch of just random jobs down there, and I remember going to the bank and cashing a check from one of these day laboring jobs. And the lady at the bank saw me all the time, and she's like, this a different company? This a different check? Like, she's like, you ain't never got no problem working. I see you in here working all the time. I was like, look, I'll take what I can get. I'm doing
Yeah.
everything.
You
So,
gotta do what you gotta do. Yeah.
I really just, tried to focus all that energy and put it on recording and video and learning as much as I could and kissing the right ass, because that's important. Kissing the right ass is important in a business you don't have any idea about. So
I'd say learning from people who know
Learning,
more.
all
Just put
that
it in
is
a better way.
put that
I
in-
don't want to
yes.
kiss. I'm not kissing
Yeah,
nothing.
I don't unite with that.
okay, yeah, that's a bad term. Okay, being a willing intern, being a willing student.
There you go. That's
I would
better.
say
Those
student of
semantics are a
life.
bit better.
And yeah, and pulling experience from where you can.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I had to, try to do that to get my name and make myself in the door and blah, blah, blah. I had some friends and family, hook me up with little gigs, and I was just, following them around. Matter of fact, my brother used to play pro ball. He used to play football in Canada. He was playing up in the pro leagues in Toronto.
Nice.
And before that, he went to San Francisco and Cowboys. Well, he tried out for the teams. But I remember when he went to camp and he was playing with Cowboys, and I think that was the year that Emmitt Smith was there and Dion was playing. So I was like, yo, I'm a Cowboys fan. From like this point on, and I've been that way. Sorry, Scans. I know.
Dang, you didn't have to. You told that whole story. I asked you how you started in videography, and you went around the whole thing to talk about the Cowboys.
Isn't the show over, Dave? Enough time. Sorry, we gotta go now, y'all.
Thanks coming out.
Didn't know there was Cowboys fans on the show.
We don't typically allow
them.
them.
I'm not one of these random ass, Cowboy fans out the blue.
Oh,
like that was a family connection. So I still have my DC roots. At least that's how I feel. But business-wise.
But yeah, let's hurry up and get to because they're gonna not go. The Cowboys ain't gonna get you a lot of.
Yeah, I know. Look, the stream is going up right now.
Yeah, it's like all right, logging off.
Niggas like what?
Log in. But no, man, I just hustled everything I could, man, and I just happened to get in with a good company. I was working PSAV at the hotel down at the Marriott, and working everything. By the time I got an interview with CNN, I'd interviewed for an editing position. I knew I probably wasn't gonna get, but I was like, all right, I'm gonna try for it anyway, get my foot in the door. So he hit me back 6 months after the interview. I'd already started working someplace else. He was like, yeah, I can't give you the editing job, but I can get you a, intern position, pulling feed camera. I was like, yeah, bet, I'll take that. So I took that, and that was like some of the depressing shit in the first few months. I'm be honest with you, because when you're pulling footage from different parts of the country, different parts of the world, and it depends on what story's going on. So when that was happening, Katrina was still kind of fresh. Iraq war was still happening. We still had a lot of cameras out in war zones. So most of the footage I was just getting was bloated bodies from being swamped in the water that they can't show, on TV, and all the blown up bodies and half legs and shit from war zones. So, I mean, about 8 hours a day of watching that all day. I kind of figured like that was, because I guess with news, it's definitely one of those things where you got to have a level of patience to deal with stress, to deal with bad news all the time. Some people couldn't handle watching.
Right.
I can imagine.
Let alone having to,
be part of,
having to film it and be a part of it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I figured that was just kind of, your hazing. And if you can make it through that, then okay, you can make it up to the next levels. Because I mean, it gets harder as you get up.
Right.
I mean, even Soledad was saying, she want to pitch stories, and you got to go to certain people and tell them no. It's almost like any newsroom in the world is like that J. Jonah Jameson thing. They have this meeting, they're in a room. Okay, I want you to talk about this, and that, and damn that Spider-Man. Spider-Man, nothing but bad pieces about Spider-Man. Like you make these decisions before stuff hits air.
Right. Yeah.
So the stories that you want to tell ain't always gonna make it, and that's in every news outlet in the world: media, print, TV, everything.
And it's regardless of how true it is or how
true it is. It's always gonna have some angle of some skew because sometimes it's the way the cookie crumbles. That's the way people want it to be.
Right. Yeah.
If you running a company, it'd be different. Like if you ran a media, if you ran BET News would be different. You'd be talking pertinent stuff or black things or, not necessarily what all of the world wants to see. And you're going to have a large section that's like, y'all not talking about this.
Right, yeah.
It's like, yo, it's 24 hours. Like, you might touch on some stuff. I mean, that's when I really realized how much stuff goes on in a day. Like, around the world, all of, like, the things that happen, like, even the things that happen now happen in the Native American parts in the country 3 times fold. The way that black people are getting killed and murdered on video, all the evidence and everything has been happening to them for a longer time. And not to say that, people got worse than other folks, but this is a huge section of population of folks, maybe not that huge as Native American, but totally getting ignored.
Yeah.
All their stories are getting ignored.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it, we
connection
kind of
to
the
them.
flavor of the year right now.
Yeah. And
I mean, stuff's been always going on in black community. We've always been getting this.
And it's
like
more
Will Smith said,
newsworthy.
More newsworthy. Right now, we're just catching it on film more.
Right. What were you gonna say, Patricia?
I
You
was
had a
gonna
question?
ask you, where did you go after you left the war zone? Like, and how did you leave that behind? Like, 'cause that's a lot to
Oh,
see.
that's
So what was your next assignment?
Well, were you
after that?
out
Do
there, or you
remember?
just saw the
No,
video from there?
I was just getting video from it. So I was still in DC, but I was just after that
Oh.
intern, and I just went to a news assistant. Then I was a floor director. Then I was working camera. Well, now I'm working camera. So
Okay.
I was just climbing the ladder. You within the same departments, within the same building, but just trying to learn and make myself more useful and valuable. But after that, like I would go to a bar. Like I would go hang out,
Try
go
to
see a
detox.
show.
Yeah.
I would detox. I would not turn on the TV or news. Like I can't just. Excuse me. You can't fill your head and your mind with so much of one thing and then try to cut it off. Like
Yeah.
immediately. That's something you got to work out. It's like
Process.
you got to process and filter it out.
Right.
Because ignoring it ain't gonna work. That's just
Yeah.
gonna sit there.
Yeah.
Acting like it don't happen ain't gonna work. Stuff happens and it's real because it can hit home for me at any moment.
Right.
I'm still black.
So I have one more question.
Mm-hmm.
So you spoke to what I was just about to ask you. So especially like for what's going on right now, as a black man and you're watching all of this,
Yeah.
is there any type of mental health support or counsel that CNN or other news media outlets offer certain people of different demographic backgrounds if they're being directly impacted? Sort of like if you were Native American and you're filming your people getting killed, you're filming your people getting killed. So
There are things like they offered free counseling services. You get like 10 or 12 counseling sessions free per issue. So I mean,
Per issue? Oh,
I
wow.
try not to take advantage of that.
You got hundreds of them because there's been stuff
I was
happening.
about to say, good. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I started bringing in folks. I brought in my father on some therapy sessions, brought in my son's mother. Like, I was like, we going to get all this out.
Yeah.
Like, I got 12 sessions. Do not be late. I'm trying to, do not be late. Don't waste my time. I'd be real pissed about that. Don't waste my time. This is me and, working out.
You got to work it out.
But I mean, this is like this. There were some things like that. There used to be a lot more company parties and a lot of stuff where people could let loose. Like back in the day, it was a lot more. We used to have correspondence dinners, and they would have all the correspondents from different networks, probably in the same hotel, but they would mingle and It was more of a fun thing back in the day. Now we can't even do it because folks too sensitive to even have that. 45. Just to even have that stuff. I mean, and then the tensions are so high between news. Like, I mean, I used to be able to go wear CNN stuff in the street. Can't do that now. I can go to work, feel a little safe. They sending bombs to my job, We got armed guards on every floor because
people trying to get in
people are hyping
CNN.
folks up like, oh, this, like these people are like, I even got family and old friends that I ain't seen in forever be hitting me up, oh, so you work for them, so you one of these people, like, this is your fault, and it's like, cause I work camera. Don't come to me with what's on TV. I don't make none of them decisions. I ain't nowhere near that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, especially during these times of, the protests and stuff.
Yeah.
Not
And I
saying
mean,
that
I understand sensitive. Look, I've noticed too.
You gotta keep yours on a low.
Yeah, I got to keep that on the low. And I mean, I ain't gonna front. I've noticed when black people are on air and their mug shots are on, like, versus others, and they, pull out a high school smiling photo. It's not something we don't notice.
Right.
Yeah.
Like every black person that's worked in media for the last 30 years has seen this stuff. It's just something you deal with because it's part of the process. And I remember somebody was like, how come you don't get up and say nothing? I'm like, well, first off, if you just decide to be that I'm a yell on live TV and take over the mic and go crazy, dude, okay,
shot.
you got about 5 seconds worth of I'm gonna go crazy. Cut that feed, switch.
Cut
It's
the
a
commercial.
button.
Go to commercial.
Okay, now you fired and got nothing, and got nothing to say. So I mean, it's if you're gonna be effective in whatever protest or whatever feelings you want to convey, you got to be able to do it in a way that's not only effective but too progressive. Because I mean, it's a bunch of people that can get behind the camera at any protest and yell, "Fuck police, fuck 12, yada yada." But if you can't, negotiate things or sit down with somebody of an opposite view and work out and maybe try to change his mind, because let's be honest, it's media. You're not signing anything. You're not making anything in the law. You're not changing but so much. Only thing you can do is help sway opinions.
Okay.
And if those opinions happen to affect whatever cause that you're rooting for, God bless you. That's the purpose of it. it's ways to be able to do it. You just can't, like, some stuff you can fight, but then other things you just can't, like, physically fight, you know? I mean, I'm all for protest. Like I said, I honestly think some of these riots need to happen for stuff to change, because it just has to be recognized. Some stuff will get ignored, as it's been getting ignored. If you don't make yourself known, like, who's the poet that said, if you're not vocal about your pain, people will keep killing you and making your pain and telling you that, you know, it's okay with you because you didn't say anything.
Right, yeah.
So,
I think they said it a little more, but yeah, I know what you was getting at.
Yeah,
but,
it was a rough morning.
Right.
But I mean, it's ways to do it, and I'm not gonna be the one jumping in front of camera. I mean, if one day if I get on camera and I'm reporting something, God bless you, you know, I'll take it in a way where I can be fair and be real, because it's too much pain that just gets ignored on a regular basis. And like you were saying earlier, you know, I am a black man. I have a black child that I raised in this city, in this country. It scares the crap out of me at the stuff I see on a regular basis. Like, I've been off of work for like 2 weeks now, and I've been spending time with my kid, and I enjoy it. I love it. Half of that is just so I can have something good to think about later. So, I mean, just so I can have some positivity, be like, you know what, I know
balance out all
this stuff. I'm doing it for the right reasons. I'm here for the right thing. I'm so much more concentrated on next generation. I'm just more worried about my month to month until his next generation can look out for me.
Right.
Because it really is stressful. It's very rough. And you just, at some point, you got to soak it in. Even if I wasn't in the news and I'm still watching this, it wouldn't be no less easy. It wouldn't be any easier to digest. It just happens to be where I'm at. I get a front row seat.
Yeah, you just closer to the drama.
Yeah.
And and seeing everything firsthand. So you do think it kind of, like you said, you kind of go through that litmus test when you start to see, you know, pulling the footage to see if you can handle it. So once you get that understanding, I think on the same lines of what Patrice was saying about the therapy and stuff, like, so you definitely think it takes a toll and has an effect on you on a day to day.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Like, it's times when I just, especially when you were working late too, because I'd be getting off at midnight. I'm already tired. I'm usually up taking my son to school or something in the morning, so I don't get all my sleep. But that, and then a stressful day, and then come home tired. You just want, like, at this point, I think in my life, the most important thing is probably just some peace. And these are the times where I don't mind being single. Like, there are times, especially when Corona was first hit, you know, you get lonely, but you got friends. Not to put anything out there, but, you know.
Yeah, right.
Friends in Jesus. Friends in the Lord.
Hallelujah.
That's one thing about being live. You can go back real quick, but you gotta bring
rewind selector. I mean, look.
help with that though.
Look, she had your back.
That's what we here for.
She saved us several occasions, B.
Right.
Yeah. You forgetting, like, oh, this shit about to be out there.
Right.
Damn.
You know it's gonna be that one woman that be like, what you say a minute, 3
Well, I'm completely safe. I don't know about B.
I'm all right. I am all right. I am just
Having Bible studies. Monday Bible studies.
I haven't,
you know.
I haven't said a word, and I won't.
But I mean,
Love you,
like,
dear.
You gotta mentally compress. You gotta, like, find some peace in the world.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, I can't tell you how many times I have gotten shot down or cut from a date, and I was like, oh, cool, I really want to hang out. I'm be honest with you. If I'm dating a woman and it seems like it's stressful, if it seems like I gotta do this one, it's like, I'm be honest with you. I usually didn't date women outside the city. If I had to travel past 20, 30 minutes to go see you, like, Baltimore folks is cut off. I'm sorry. I love Baltimore people. I love Baltimore people. Baltimore has some of the finest women I've seen on the East Coast that never happen to be in Baltimore when I see them.
Huh?
They're always someplace else. Whenever I meet a fine Baltimore woman, she's never in Baltimore.
That's weird. That's weird.
I know it was just for my own peace, because I'm ripping and running all the time. I didn't realize how exhausted I was till my body started letting me know, all right, I'm gonna just mess with your ribs for a minute. Bow, you need to sit down.
Right.
Fuck with your lungs because you don't get enough sleep.
Right.
I'm gonna just put some extra pressure on your back.
I think that's part of getting older, and the same thing with your outlook on dating. It's just, you know, the older you get, the more you relishing your alone time. You know, because it's a lot
I
of
want my peace. Like if I'm arguing with you,
but I mean, I think you can find that in a person too. You know,
you can, and there's some wonderful people out here.
Yeah.
And the good thing is, I know I'm working on my shit.
I seen Jay's face when I said
working on their
Get this shit out of here, man. What are y'all talking about?
You talking about me?
You don't think you
there's
can
some wonderful
find
women out here. They have their mind on straight.
That's true.
And you know they're compassionate and giving.
I know what this is though. B didn't really want to talk about himself, so he changed the subject. He's like, "This is what we gonna talk about. Let's talk about women." No,
I honestly forgot. I'm old. You know,
it's all good.
I'm looking at this web camera and seeing how much gray is up here. That's what's really messing with me.
No, well, hey, look, that's why I wear a hat, bro. That's why I keep the hat on, and they still.
Hey, man, look. I'm young, but you know, it's a stressful young. So
that's us though. That's black people. Most of us.
You know.
Say, how old are you? 35. I mean, I'm 22. What you talking about? But,
man, look, I always look old.
Right.
And that was a good and bad thing. Like I was always a big dude that looked old, so I mean it helped in some points. Like I couldn't go places and buy weed when I was younger. People always thought I was a cop. I mean, they be like, "Who's you? You sure you know somebody from this?" When I smoked, it was a long time ago.
Right. You got to put that out there. Look, you're messing up your CNN job now.
I know,
that was a long time ago.
Hey, get this nigga off camera, nigga. He's jeopardizing all his shit right now.
He gonna ruin his life.
He gonna call you after the show, Dave. Like, look, Dave.
I ain't got nobody.
My life has changed because of your show, Dave.
That's why I ain't invite a lot of people to my comedy show. The shit that'll fly out of my mouth on a regular basis. Then,
Right, yeah.
Be about to get hemmed up.
It's just way out the scene.
But yeah, I want to talk a little bit about it's people out there who probably want to get into the thing videography and even may want to get into news. What kind of advice would you give somebody who's looking to do something like that?
If you're looking to get into it and you don't have the conventional outreaches and support for any of that, I would definitely suggest you just go out and do it. If you wanted to be a reporter, take a camera out, take a mic, go out and report and learn from your own stuff. I can't tell you how many times I just took a camera in places and I just learned from my own stuff about how to shoot, which way to shoot for transitions, different stuff for light, different lenses. Some people learn through action. Mm-hmm. And if you're waiting for that to happen, you might be SOL. You got to go out and do that for yourself. If whatever it is, if you want to be a writer, if you want to be a journalist, do some stuff pro bono. Don't think you're going to go out here and get paid on the first run. It's the first time, like when I got a camera, what you need is action after that. You need something to shoot after that. So you're going to have to get folks together. You might have to do a few pro bonos before you even get your reputation up to even make people think twice about paying you. It's been some early gigs that I had and I wish I learned from better, but I'm glad they paid me from.
Right. Okay.
So, you
did get paid, but you didn't get as much of the experience as you wish you.
Yeah. I got paid, but I wish I had just soaked up more. I wish I had just learned quicker. I wish I had just been, had more experience. Like I say, the stuff I know now, if I had known that back then, I could have skipped a lot of steps. I wasted a lot of times just making mistakes. I didn't have those teachers to really learn from on the side business stuff. I mean, I soaked up everything at work. I soaked up all the stuff these guys had. It's some people I work with that have been already working there 15, 20 years. So, I mean, they had come from various different backgrounds. All of them, at some point was like, this is something I want to do. I have to learn it. And the thing about media is you got to learn quickly because it's expensive to sit there and wait for you to
figure out what you'll be you'll be fired by the time.
I mean, and I've had to tell people this for smaller gigs I've done. I did some red carpet things and like somebody hire a person to go, interview folks, and I've had to tell a guy that sent me out to hire, you might want to replace this person. They're gonna end up costing you money in the long run for 6, 7, 8 re-edits and recuts because they don't like the way their hair was.
Right. Yeah.
So I mean, it is a business. You learn as you go along, and you can't be in your feelings about it. That's the other part.
Right.
You got to be passionate about your work, but you can't be in love with it because there's so many hands in the pot that have to make things happen. And there's got to be some compromise to things because it is a group effort. It's a group project. Every project usually is a group project.
Right.
So
it's more than one person.
You gotta humble yourself and do that job that you came to do if that's what you're going to do. Now, if you're the idea person, you're throwing things together, you're making things happen, great, go for it. And do that stuff to a T. And just don't let anybody, especially yourself, get in your way. I know a bunch of times when a bunch of people, that's just happened where their own self has gotten in the way and screwed up their own stuff. So
yeah. So what do you remember, like, do you have like a career defining story? Like, do you remember a big story that broke while you were, behind the camera, while you were, holding it down? I know so much stuff happens now that it's like, it's hard to pick one, but do you have any that's...
I think on my interview, Katrina happened on my interview.
Oh, wow. While you were interviewing.
Yeah, while I was interviewing, and people were like, oh, this is a story. And I'm seeing people run around. I was like, what the hell's going on? And they're like, oh, it's a big story, and things happen. But let me see, Obama inauguration.
Oh yeah,
that was huge. It was fun then.
Right.
Wasn't as dangerous. I remember will.i.am came in to do a performance for Larry King, and he came in there with like a 15-person choir, and we cleared out the whole studio, and he did this whole performance for the Obama song he did. And I think Puffy came in and Stevie Wonder and all these famous faces, and
wow,
I was just like, yo, this is cool. This is the times I actually, that you want to tell your grandkids about, when it was fun and it was extra. Like the inauguration since then have just been dangerous.
After that, a lot of danger.
Like danger. Like I went to the RNC and felt like I was going through these zombie gates. And like so many damn bomb sniffing dogs and security up the wazoos, and I mean, which is cool. I want security, but
it felt weird.
Crazies out. Yeah, it felt weird to have to do all this just to do your job. And especially the field guys. Like these guys are getting spit on, cussed at, just for going out there and reporting basic stuff.
Yeah, you haven't been out there. Have you been?
Yeah, I've been in the field a few times. Not in hostile environments like that.
Oh, okay.
In RNC, it was some hostile parts. Some people was a little extra, but I don't know if I just had the "don't fuck with me" face on or what. But I didn't get too much guff out of that.
They ain't as gangster they pretend to be.
Yeah, because I mean, I love my job and all, but I mean, I love my safety and security, my personal space. Don't violate that. We'll be
right.
But
yeah, man.
Yeah, it was good, man. It had its times. I'm sure that there'll be more times in the future.
Definitely, yeah.
That have other memories. But I'm at this point, I still like what I do. I still love what I do, and I just want to keep doing it one way or another, man.
That's important. That's amazing, man. And so, man, I appreciate you so much for coming through and having the conversation with us, joining the conversation and adding your input to it. I'm gonna ask you. We always, telling all your business. So I hope you still have a job when you leave here. But I will ask you the last question that we always ask. That I always ask everybody that I interview. If you had an opportunity to talk to, let's say 15-year-old Brian Burch, being through everything you've been through now, and you kind of do because you have a son. How old is your son?
11. It'll be
11. Oh, okay. So you gotta, it'll be 12 next week.
12 next week.
That's dope. Yeah. So you kind of do have the opportunity to talk to younger you and instill all that in. So, but if you had it but more personally yourself, knowing everything that you've been through and all the wisdom that you've gained, and knowing who you were at that time, if you had a chance to talk to let's say 15-year-old Brian Burch. Like, what would that conversation be? What would you say to him?
I'd tell him, for one, trust in yourself. Trust in yourself for one. And two, dang, a 15-year-old. It was so much going on.
Who were you at?
I was 15. Still high school. I was at Eastern. Even though
Ebo.
Petworth. My neighborhood school was Roosevelt, but Roosevelt was just East Side High by then. It was just,
and it's funny because we paralleled in a lot of ways because I was over here and Ballou was my neighborhood high school, and my brother,
Anacostia,
the reason
Anacostia,
Anacostia, but Ballou was a school that I was going to go to because my brother went there, but he wound up getting robbed at knife point at the school, and my mother took him out and took him to Eastern. And before that, my whole family had went to Eastern, and so it was a family thing, and so I wound up going to Eastern. But anyway,
that was it was a lot going on. I lost my mother 2 years after, but she was sick around 15. She was definitely sick before then. So
Yeah.
So it was a lot coming at me once, and then having to be grown up and be responsible for me, myself, and like all that happens, say from like 15 to 17, or even maybe 13, 14. There's so much growth that happens in a child.
Yeah.
That you like, I mean, it's even like from you were a senior in high school, you have to ask somebody to go use the bathroom, to the next year being so independent that everything is relied and required for you is such a big
Step, yeah.
It's such a big step for a lot of kids. And I mean, it's a thing of more responsibilities.
Right.
And
right.
I think I'm glad I went through all the crap I did when I was younger. So I learned how to say bye to people I didn't need to be around.
That's huge. Like a lot of
man,
people, yeah.
That's huge.
Buy and know are things that
Buy
people
and
have
know,
a real big, yeah.
And I didn't realize how hard that was until later on. I look back and I'm like, dang, I can see how that would be tough for other people.
For other people, yeah.
I mean,
not for me, of course.
I mean, for me, I think I just had my walls up by then, and I was cutting folks off left and right.
Right. So you would tell yourself to trust in yourself.
I tell myself to trust in myself, have some faith in me, and the things that I planned and did do, and just kind of go with that. Because I mean, I think at that point I had very little hope to begin. Not to say to begin with, but I think I had so much going on at that time. I had to have something to focus on.
Okay.
So having arts and having freestyle battles and writing and even video stuff. You know, as a matter of fact, I got some of my first experience with the church. I don't even go to church that much anymore. But I mean, when I was younger, I just wanted to do nothing but press their buttons, their switches, their audio switches.
Yeah. I remember we had we can talk about it after because you know it's almost 2 hours now. So let's wrap this up, man. I want to thank you guys so much for checking us out. On behalf of Jason, Fruitfit, and myself, I want to thank you guys for watching it. Thanks to our guest Brian Burch for coming through and kicking it with us and essentially losing his job today on the No, but
in high school.
Well, he definitely lost a few friends.
Oh yeah, you said right.
I didn't hear that part.
Right. So yeah, we'll edit that out. We'll re-edit that out. You got the final cut. I'm
not on my feed. Your shit's raw on my joint, B.
Oh man,
sorry,
who do
man.
I know that knows Jason? Actually, a lot of people.
We got a bunch of friends in common. But all right, guys, thank you so much for checking out the Neighborish livecast. Thank y'all for hanging in there with us. We appreciate you. We'll be back next week with more fun, more information, more intellectual conversation, and more Fruitfit. Yeah. No, but see y'all next week. Peace.